Monday morning, focus as always on the Monday morning, a little bit more on the breath. What I want to pay attention to today as well is just the rib cage. Not just the rib cage, but just focus a little bit on the rib cage and how we need that elasticity and flexibility of the rib cage. Often a lot of clients will say to me, oh, I've got lung capacity, I haven't got great lung capacity. And remember, you've got to have space to breathe into. So that rib cage flexibility is so important when we are breathing, and obviously when we are moving and we need that little bit more breath. So with that said, find yourself a comfortable standing position. Taking your feet shoulder width apart. We've worked on this a few times over the past couple of sessions. Just a reminder that we are driving from the ground upwards, so that initial connection with the feet. So just focus on the feet connected with the ground. Feel the balls of the foot connected to the ground, the bubbling spring. Toes are relaxed. You can give the toes a little bit of a wiggle. Good to see Gillian and Tom have got their Breathe Balance Move t-shirts on. Yay! Heels connected to the ground. 2. Have those heels connected to the ground. And when we rotate from the hips and the waist, we're driving from the ground. So if I'm rotating to my left, this is my left, you're driving that right heel towards the midline. Driving is maybe the wrong word, so it's just almost like kissing the right heel towards the midline as you go that way, or as I'm actually rotating to the right, sorry, and then opposite left heel as you're rotating to the left. So just, it's not forcing, it's not pushing into the ground, but it's just bringing that awareness to that connection to the ground, so that you'll feel the rotation through the ankles, through the knees, through the hips, breathing easy in and out through the nose. And then the spine just rotates. Head just follows the movement. Don't feel as if you have to force how the head is moving. And then slow it down into water waves. Again, feel that connection through the ground. And take a rest. Just stand, just open up the shoulders, palms facing forwards. I'm just going to come a little bit closer so you can see. We're going to get really subtle here now. So what I'd like you to do is rotate to one side and then just take the hand, the opposite side, on those lower ribs. And again, we're not forcing anything, but we're just gently lifting the sternum up. So you're just going, oh, I'm just going to look over there. So you just get that little lift of the sternum, very gentle touch. Now, obviously, I say this every session, if you have any pain in your back, Shoulders, if anything hurts, you stop. We don't want anybody cracking anything or breaking anything. So you're just rotating gently. It's almost like you're tucking this rib in and lifting the sternum. So you should feel like a nice bit of extension and rotation there through that side. Keep the shoulders down and relaxed. Gentle lift. And just do that a few times so you just get that idea of gently lifting. You can even look, you can look in that direction, lifting and rotating. So we're getting a bit of extending and rotating. Back to center, just do a couple of those. And again, please do not force anything. Remember, we're not stretching, we are encouraging the fascia, the tendons, the ligaments to lengthen. So we're just gently encouraging them. The minute we start to force anything, everything tightens up. Everything tightens up. So we don't want anything tightening. Gently lift and rotate. And that idea of just subtly lifting sternum. Do a couple more. You'll notice your feet are connected to the ground as well. It's a tiny movement, it's not a massive movement. And then take a rest. If you need to shake your arms out, shaking out your arms. Move your shoulders a little bit if you need to move your shoulders. Coming back now, well, to the opposite side. So just take your hand on that lower rib and then rotate. Lift the sternum. And maybe have a little look. And again. The idea here as well is that it's very tempting to go, oh, I'll just lean back. And then we start to compress that lower back. So we want to keep that lower back nice and long and just really work on rotating. Should almost, once you get into the rhythm of it, it should almost feel like springy. It's like you're just gently pressing your hand and it just springs back, driving, springing back. You might find one side flows really well, the other side might feel a little bit stuck. Really emphasize we're not forcing anything. So you're extending and rotating the spine, really subtly, gently extending and rotating. Couple more on this side. And of course, when you think about it, making sure that the rib cage is flexible because the diaphragm is connected. It's really going to make a difference to how you breathe. And then have a little shake out. Now let's go back to knocking. This is so subtle. So see if you can just have it in mind. We're working from the feet, so remember that kissing of the heel into the center. We're not clicking the heels together because they're connected to the ground. You're driving from the feet, driving from the hips and the waist. And then actually when you swing to that side, you're getting a little bit of, oh yeah, that's like extending and rotating. And when you swing to this side, it's like, oh yeah, that's extending and rotating. Because I'll often talk about being tall through the spine. If we're like this, then we get in no extension and rotation through that spine. So don't overthink it. I'm just really overcomplicating this whole exercise. Go into knocking and just have in mind that very gentle lift of the sternum as you rotate. And it's just that whole idea of that lengthening through the spine, keeping tall through the spine. But actually, in order to keep tall through the spine, when you're rotating, you have to extend and rotate through the spine. Breathing easy in and out through the nose. Suddenly you might notice, maybe it just feels easier to breathe because you've got that space. Rib cage is expanding without having to force anything. Shoulders might feel a little bit more relaxed. And the arms are just like pieces of string. You're not having to use any energy to rotate the arms because everything is coming from the spine, the ground and the spine upwards. Let's slow it down into water waves. Again, connect through the ground. Use the feet. Maybe you can soften. I always, when I do water waves, I tend to drop a little bit. I tend to bend into the knees a little bit more. It just feels nice, nice and strong and solid and grounded. And take a rest. Let's just open the shoulders again, standing tall. Next one, we'll do spinal cord breathing. I'm going to ask you to take slightly fuller breaths. Now, if you start to feel a little bit lightheaded, I want you to stop because we can slightly hyperventilate with this one. But what I want to do is really emphasize when you breathe in, expand everything here, really breathe into the rib cage. And when you breathe out, and use the mouth if you want to use the mouth, squeeze everything out. Bring the ribs in. Open up the back, create all that space between the shoulder blades. So it's very deliberate. Breath in, lifting the sternum. Breath out. It's not forcing with the throat, it's just fuller breath in and breath out. And you might want to go a little bit slower. Again, if you start to feel lightheaded, do stop because we deliberately just breathe in a little bit more. Particularly squeezing all the air out, squeezing that space in between the shoulder blades, loads of space between the shoulder blades, opening up the back. Do a couple more. and then take a rest. Again, have a shakeout if you need a shakeout. I remember when I first started teaching, practicing Oxygen Advantage Protego, I remember going to an osteopath and we were doing movements and he's going, right, breathe, take a nice big full breath into here or into there. And I was like, oh, you can't do that because we can only breathe light. That means you're over breathing if you're taking big breaths and if you're breathing out through the mouth. But actually, when you think about it, if you know why you're doing that particular breath to actually really expand the rib cage and really squeeze all that air out, and you're breathing big breaths, you're breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth, you're not doing that all day long. I wouldn't expect you to be do that when you're exercising, gently exercising or endurance exercising. So it's remembering the purpose of that breath. I am using that breath to deliberately expand the rib cage and deliberately squeeze all that air out of the rib cage. And I've noticed that a lot, particularly with people, say corporates who are sat at their desk a lot of the time, maybe they don't do a lot of exercise, is if they never expand that rib cage, if you never expand your rib cage, if you never take big breaths, that everything's going to tighten up. So we want to be doing this to make sure that we don't tighten all of those breathing muscles. So it's knowing why, it's having the intention of why we're doing that. So when we're doing this normally, I would just do gentle breath in through the nose, gentle breath out. But this one, I wanted to make it big so you can really expand. And we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to do it on that angle. So this is another one I've noticed that is really good because you've got that little bit of rotation. So make sure you're bending the knees a little bit and then you're just rotating round. Now remember when we rotate round, there's that little bit of lift here of the sternum. So when we're lifting here with the sternum, you're breathing in, and now we're exaggerating that lift. You're bringing that rib in, you're extending the spine there, breathing in. And then when you breathe out, keep it down the side, tuck underneath, tuck the tailbone, tuck the hip in, tuck the tailbone, breathe out. So breathe in and breathe out. Squeeze it all out. So if you're taking big breaths, have that, you know why you're taking these big breaths. You know the consequences of taking big breaths. If you breathe more than you need, then you are going to slightly hyperventilate. So then you just need to balance that out. But it's the purpose of the movement, purpose of the exercise. Purpose here is to really get that elasticity, that expansion and contraction of the rib cage. Let's do a couple more. Come to center and take a moment. Just open up the shoulders. What you could do to balance that out is, if you feel as if you've done a little bit of hyperventilation, we'll just do some gentle pauses. So here, just do normal breath in, normal breath out, and just pause. Let's go for 5. Pause, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then breathe easy. Just let that breath be very light and soft. So you feel the contrast between those big breaths, deliberately big breaths to create that movement in the rib cage and the spine. And then when we just need to here, just very soft, light, easy breathing. We'll do a pause for 5 again after breath in, gentle breath in, gentle breath out. Pause, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe easy. Do one more pause. 5. Soft in. soft out, pause, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe easy. So there's your recovery breath. We've done some nice big full breaths. Let's rotate now to the opposite side. Again, deliberate breathing in, breathing out. Squeeze everything out. Go at your own rhythm. Let's do 2 more. And then take a rest, stand tall. Open up the shoulders. Let's do 3 of those 5-beat pauses again. So just give yourself a moment to let the breath settle. This breath is very soft, it's very light, it's quiet. We're not trying to breathe in any particular way. Gentle breath in, breath out, pause, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then just breathe naturally. Gentle breath in, breath out, pause, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe naturally. Settle into the rhythm. Gentle breath in, out, pause, 2, 3, 4, 5, and breathe naturally. So completely different ways of using the breath there. So we're using the breath to recover. So just really gentle breaths, hardly any movement. We're not using loads of energy by breathing there. That little pause is helping to rebalance the oxygen, carbon dioxide, because if we've done these big breaths, deliberately doing these big breaths, we might have lowered our carbon dioxide levels a little bit. Not massively, but you wouldn't go along all day going, ideally. Nor would you, if you are exerting yourself a little bit more, just go, oh, I'm just going to breathe really calm and relaxed. You use the breath, or the breath would follow the situation, the intention, the environment that you're in. So remember that we don't just breathe in one particular way. It's not just all about light breathing or big breathing. We always breathe into the chest. I'm breathing into the chest now. You can't see it, but I'm not breathing into the chest because there is space there. It needs to, the breath, even if it's really light, needs to breathe into here as well, needs to breathe into here. But I'm not going big, overusing those accessory muscles. Let's have a little bit of a shake out. Who'd have thought these 2 exercises that we do for 2 seconds to warm up can be nice and complex and highlight some of the little key things about helping us to flow with less effort, more energy, less effort. Let's do a bit of dog wags the tail, always a good one. So just shifting the weight side to side, and then just freeing the spine. Now again, you're using the ground, so gently push into the ground. Now this time we're not necessarily bringing the heels together, because we're not rotating, we're just doing that lateral flexion. So you're literally just shifting the weight side to side, soften into the ankles, soften into the knees, soften into the hips. So imagine if you landed heavily, or if you landed on the ground, you wouldn't want to go boom and everything be solid. You'd want to be able to absorb that force all the way through the body. And that's why often if we have sort of like stiffness, knee, hip, ankle, if the force is sticking there, that's where it can start to cause pain, injury. So we're just freeing up that whole body, so the force as you land, whether you're walking or running, it is absorbed through the whole body. And slow it down there, just breathing nice and easy. Let's have a little bit of a shake. So shaking out the arms. Let's do a little bit of tapping of the heels into the ground. So just tapping. And again, you will feel that vibration coming up the whole body, through the fascia, through the ligaments, the tendons. If you want to do a bit of a cleansing and clearing breath, then you can take that full breath in and breath out. Oh. Interestingly as well, and you might notice this, you might not, I can feel a lot more vibration up here, a lot more vibration because we've done all of that stretching, breathing into the sides of the rib cage, rotating, extending the rib cage. So I'm getting a lot more vibration, a lot more resonance. That's the word I'm looking for as well, in the chest. Oh, good old shake. I still haven't got the mini trampoline which the osteo recommended that I get. Need to go and get one, bounce on it. I think this is doing the same. Can't be a good shake. Slow it down. And then again, just stand. You can just stand normally if you just want your arms to hang by the sides. If you want to open up the shoulders, feel free just to open up the shoulders. Again, it creates that little bit of space here without forcing everything out. Again, because we've increased the breath rate a little bit with the shaking, we're letting that breath settle. Then we're taking a breath in, lifting the sternum, keeping the shoulders relaxed. Breath out. Breath in. Breath out. Always great. When you think about the name of this, pulling down the heavens or pulling down the sky, you would look up to pull down the sky. And if you look up, guess what? You lift that sternum up, you extend that thoracic spine. So it's not just an arm movement, resting, lower dantian, bringing the feet together, tall through the spine, just closing your eyes just for the final few moments of our session together this morning. For a little bit of bamboo in the wind. Now taking a calm, full breath in through the nose. Opening your eyes, stepping out, gentle brush down. See how that feels. Remember that openness, that space we've created there in the rib cage. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks as always for joining in. If you're in the UK, have a good bank holiday. I hope the weather stays good for you. And I will see you on Wednesday for a little bit more movement. We'll use a lot of this that we've done today as well on Wednesday. Have a good day. Thanks for joining. See you later. Bye-bye.